בוקר טוב, עולם שטוח 12, היום אנחנו ב-13 לחמישי 2023, והיום אנחנו רוצים לעשות את הפרק השני של Flat Out Truth, שבו הוא מסביר כל מיני, איך אומרים, יש 10 צ'אלנג'ים, איך אומרים, אתגרים שנותנים לאנשי עולם שטוח, ואיך אומרים, Flat Out Truth פשוט מחסל אותם אחד אחרי השני. הקודם היה הראשון, עכשיו זה השני, תתרשמו בעצמכם, יש שם מידע של עולם שטוח שחשוב לדעת, ומדעי בהחלט לחלוטין. דבר נוסף, איך אומרים, אנחנו ניגע היום באנטארקטיקה. יש לי עוד סרטון שאתם בטח תראו אותו פה בהמשך, על הסאגה של מה קורה עם איך אומרים, צריך להיות כמה חודשים של אור מלא בדרום, כן, באנטארקטיקה, ולפי מה שנראה, והפיבורקים שעושים לתמונות משם בקיץ, שאמור להיות 24 שעות שמש, נראה שכאילו מפברקים את זה. עכשיו, למה? למה שיפברקו? הרי גם נאסא מפברקים, נאסא אנחנו יודעים למה הם מפברקים. אבל למה שיכולים מפברקו על אנטארקטיקה? אז הנה לכם, אנחנו נראה למה סביר להניח שגם את זה מפברקים. בנוסף, אנחנו גם נלמד כמה דברים על השמש ומסלוליה, כדי איך אומרים, שמי שלא מבין יבין.
This time I'd like to offer some challenges to you remaining few that are desperately clinging to this dying fad to derive some semblance of self-worth. Let's call them 10 challenges for flat earthers. These will be some basic things that anyone could do to test the validity of the flat earth hypothesis. These are so mind-numbingly obvious that the fact that you don't do them is an immediate indicator of your complete lack of intellectual integrity. Let's get started and you'll see what I mean. Number 2, as we all know, the existence of Antarctica poses a huge problem for you. When it is summer in the northern hemisphere, you love to pretend that the sun moves inwards to this tropic, making the days longer here and shorter in the southern hemisphere. And then when it's winter in the north, you like to put the sun at the other tropic, which you think gives you the shorter days up north that you want, but in the south, it's total chaos.
Okay, let's debunk this part of the challenge real quick. Professor Dumb Dave says we like to pretend that the sun moves inward in the summer solstice and moves outward in the winter solstice. No, Dumb Dave, we don't like to pretend that. This knowledge goes all the way back to the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Mayans, the ancient Incas, and even the 1892 Gleason's Flat Earth map explains that to you right down there at the bottom of the map where you claim there wasn't a scale at, which I showed you in episode 1. So let's get you educated real quick on the summer solstice and the winter solstice from the 1892 Gleason's map once again. So let's look down here at the bottom left of the map at the summer solstice. In the figures, June and December, the white represents the sun's position in his respective months. At noon, this shows sunlight inside the Arctic Circle for 24 hours. From June 21st, the sun moves around the tropics in a spiral circle, widening every day until it reaches its destiny on the southern or outer solstice on December 21st. And it even shows you a diagram right here, plain to see. The North Pole right there in the middle. See that little dot right there? That's the sun. See the illumination around that dot? That's telling you the small circle that it makes in the summer solstice, all the while widening every day. Okay, now over here to the bottom right of the map, you have the winter, December solstice. On December the 21st, the sun moves around the Tropic of Capricorn, and during the day lights up the southern portion of the Earth from the Arctic Circle to some portion of Antarctica ice, There is no sunlight beyond 80 degrees south, but unknown regions of ice. On the 23rd of December, the sun commences his northward journey again, returning to his starting place, and thus completes his seasons. And you have a diagram right above that showing you there's the North Pole, there's the sun, making its wide circuit around the flat Earth. So therefore, that debunks your comment about we pretend that this is what the sun does. No, dumb Dave, this scientific map tells you the movement of the sun. And not only that, this map also makes you look dumb when you say this is a projection map of a globe. If it was a projection map of a globe, it wouldn't tell you that the sun moves inward in the summer solstice and that the sun moves outward in the winter solstice. Now let's move on.
You have the sun tracing this enormous trajectory, which would leave everything out here in darkness for most of the day, when in reality there are long periods of time in Antarctica where the sun never sets. Since your dinky little sun can never illuminate this entire fantasy ice wall at once, this completely obliterates your model, which is why you resort to conspiracy. You simply deny that this midnight sun ever occurs.
Okay, once again, dumb Dave, we don't have to resort to conspiracy theories. We can just resort to the scientific map, which says right here, there is no sunlight beyond 80 degrees south, but unknown regions of ice. If you would do a little bit of research, you would understand this, being that you spend 60 to 70 hours a week in that bedroom, then you've got plenty of time for me to educate you. Let's move on.
You have the sun tracing this enormous trajectory, which would leave everything out here in darkness for most of the day.
Okay, let me correct you there, dumb Dave. Not most of the day, but for over 4 months, there's total darkness there. And I'll let the people who actually are stationed in Antarctica explain that to you.
He spent countless hours standing in the freezing cold in an effort to capture the true feeling of this vast, important place. There really are only 2 seasons in Antarctica. A busy summer when most of the science happens, and a wild and lonely winter that few people will ever experience. In the middle of March, there's that magical, brief couple of weeks when the sun is rising and setting like normal days, and you can actually leave the curtains open on your window at night to be woken up by the sunrise in the morning.
How are your parents?
Another hour? Are we ever going to see the sun again?
One day.
Guess you start to get used to living in a world without light. The days get short and the nights get long, till the nights get real long. There's no more sun, and that's all she wrote.
I was scared of the coming darkness for so many months. And I thought, is that going to get to me? Is that going to make me, well, how will that affect me? I was pretty scared of that and how that might just change me.
You know, when you watch television here and you see all the things that are going wrong in the world, you know, it's like, thank goodness I'm here, but then you also then watch shows where you see swaying palm trees and people laughing and bucolic scenes, and you're not there. You're here where it's dark and cold and windy.
It's the month of June, and right now it's the middle of the day.
I loved the 24 hours of darkness. Maybe on full moon nights and other nights I would see the mountains, but sometimes I'd forget the mountains were even there. And so my entire world was just in the little spaces and, you know, walking around.
So as you can see, Professor Dumdan,
It really does change your perception.
So, as you can see, Professor Dumdave, from the people who are actually stationed there, there is no sunlight there for over 4 months in the winter.
You have the sun tracing this enormous trajectory, which would leave everything out here in darkness for most of the day, when in reality, there are long periods of time in Antarctica where the sun never sets.
Holy jumping fucking shitballs. Dumber than a second coat of paint.
While claiming that no one can go to Antarctica to verify it for themselves, because the government NASA Jew penguins will kill you. Well, apart from all the commercial cruises, civilians can even apply for jobs there, so you totally could go see it for yourself.
Okay, now, Professor Dumdave is kind of correct on this matter right here. You can go there, you can get a job there, but not your average person. You either have to be an engineer, a scientist, a mechanic, someone with a very high skill of profession. And even those people just can't wander off and do what they want to. They're kind of like prisoners there. They're stationed at a base, and that's where they remain until it's time to leave. And I'll let them explain that to you themselves.
I saw Erebus and wanted to go hiking there and snowboard down it, and I was quickly told no, and then I was off to work, yeah.
We had been thinking, oh, we're going to Antarctica, and then when you get here, it's like, oh yeah, I've got to work. And you don't put that into your head your first time. You're so excited about coming down that you forget that you're coming down here for a reason. They hurried us off the plane so we couldn't take a look around, and pretty much it was just here, and the next thing we knew, we were in town. So the first thing we really saw of Antarctica was McMurdo, and that's always kind of disappointing sometimes.
I've seen a lot of different personalities come down here. The ones that seem to do the most of it are the diehards, or the more grounded people.
McMurdo Station sits beside the sea on Ross Island. It's dwarfed by Mount Erebus, the southernmost active volcano in the world. 3 kilometres away, on the other side of the peninsula, is the small New Zealand outpost, Scott Base. Scott Base is a lot more typical in size of the other bases dotted around Antarctica. And its proximity to McMurdo is unusual.
At Scott Base, you have to live and work in one building. Our accommodation is a very small room. It's like a cell, if you like, or a cupboard. A lot of things here can get to you pretty quickly, especially in winter. And you cannot change them. You cannot argue much about them either, because this person will be in front of your eyes, you know, on the next smoker. So to be tolerant is very important.
I could live indefinitely here if I could, on occasion, get out. Like I haven't, I've literally gone nowhere since August.
You will get to see some fun stuff, but the main thing you're down here for is to work. And I hate to sound cold when it comes to that, but I think a lot of people lose that focus. And when they come down here and all they get to see is a dish room or get to stare at a computer the whole time, I think they might be a little disillusioned.
We're in a box, and there's no escape from each other. You can't get away. You're forced to interact day in and day out, and that you get to know people very, very quickly. Whether those relationships be good or bad, they're going to be very, very intense.
But most people are thinking about heading home. When the last plane leaves, that's it. You're stuck here for the next 6 months. No way out.
So, as you can see, you're not just allowed to roam free wherever you want to. You are to stay where you are stationed at that base. And also remembering that the only way in and the only way out is by Air Force plane, where you are guarded the whole time. And therefore, totally debunking everything that Professor Dumb Dave was babbling on about. Okay, now let's wrap this up.
Just look up times of sunrise and sunset on the internet. In mid-December, sunrise is earlier than 5 a.m. and sunset is later than 10 p.m. Now take your little model for the seasons and make it show night and day. Then try and make the night and day portions match up with these sunrise and sunset times. Demonstrate the light from the sun illuminating this location for more than 70% of its trajectory. And as you do that, make sure that it does not illuminate Point Barrow, Alaska whatsoever during its entire trajectory, as that town has endless night during this time of the year. That's right, lots of sun over here and zero sun over here. Good luck. If you decide to even try, observe that the light patterns become so nonsensical that not even the most meth-fueled creatives amongst you could vomit enough magnetism jargon to justify it. If you can't make your model show the seasons and night and day at the same time, as I pointed out that you can't almost a year ago, then seriously consider shutting up forever.
Oh, so now he's back into sounding like a teenage girl going into puberty. I thought we already debunked this with the Antarctica video alone, but just for fun, let's go ahead and debunk this idiotic part of the challenge also.
See this white dot in the middle with the end in it? That's the North Pole. The little black dot is the sun that shows you its pattern, which is a small circle, and it even tells you down here in the June solstice. In the figures, June and December, the white represents the sun's position in his respective months at noon. This shows sunlight inside the Arctic Circle for 24 hours. From June 21st, the sun moves around the tropic in a spiral circle, widening every day until it reaches its destiny at the southern or outer solstice on December 21st. Okay, now what that means is in the summertime, it's making a small circle, a small spiral circle, just like it showed you in the diagram right above the paragraph that you read. And it widens every day, which means it starts to go out, that's why it starts to get cold. It's starting to move out and away from you. And then we go to the December solstice, the winter solstice, December 21st. Now notice how the sun is out wide from the North Pole. It's making a wide spiral circle from this close spiral circle, as you see here. Now, let's look down underneath the diagram of the map and see what it tells us for December solstice. Okay, on December the 21st, the sun moves around the Tropic of Capricorn, and during the daylight up the southern portion of the Earth, from the Arctic Circle to some portion of Antarctica ice, there is no sunlight beyond 80 degrees south, but unknown regions of ice. And on the 23rd of December, the sun commences his northward journey again, returning to his starting place, and thus completes his seasons.
Okay, now as you can see, even the map itself tells you that the sun rotates, not the earth. Now let's move on.
Your December solstice would look like this right here on the flat earth map. It's way out here, check it out. It's dark on one side of the earth, light on the other, just so you understand that. It makes a wide circle, right like this right here. That's why it's cold right here. It's cold right there in the United States in the wintertime, isn't it? Because the sun's way out here. Sun's way out here. And then in the spring, what's the sun start doing? It starts moving in closer. That's why your days start getting longer. It starts getting warmer. And then by the summer solstice, as you see right here, it says it spirals in to the Arctic Circle. There's your Arctic Circle right there. So this right here is your North Pole, and this little spot right here, this is Alaska. Now in the summer solstice, here's where the sun is. Well, check out what's getting 24 hours of daylight. The Arctic, the North Pole. Because see, the sun's making a small circle. That's why daytime is longer in the summertime right here in the United States. Because it doesn't take the sun very long to come back around. That's why you have short nights and long days. And then as the sun starts to go back out to its winter solstice, what's it start doing? Nights start getting longer and the days get shorter and starts getting cooler and colder, right? Until the sun goes all the way back out to the ice. And then it's cold again.
I mean, this is a no-brainer. Why do you think birds fly south for winter? Why do you think fish in the sea migrate south for the winter? Because they're following the sun out. And when the sun comes back in, they migrate back north because they're following the sun back in. That'd be impossible on a spinning ball with the sun 93 million miles away. They follow the sun out and they follow it in. You can't follow the sun if it's way out in outer space. And the seasons prove that also. That's why when the sun's moving in, all the vegetation starts coming back to life, right? And then as it moves back out in the fall, everything starts dying again because it lives off of that sun. And if it were 93 million miles away, it would be impossible for that to happen.
And there's nothing 80 degrees south. No sunlight, nothing there past 80 degrees south. Because that's nothing but unknown regions of ice. Just like the map told you.
Totally debunking and destroying Professor Dumb Dave's number 2.
אז כמו שראיתם, הסבר מדויק איך הבדיקות המדעיות של העולם השטוח, איך אומרים, למעשה מתגלות, ואיך שימו לב, גם לעולם השטוח, שאתם תמיד אומרים, לעולם שטוח זה לא הגיוני, זה לא הגיוני, אני לא יודע איך הם הכניסו לכם את זה. ההגיוני יותר זה העולם השטוח, ברמה הפיזית, ומה שאנחנו רואים. ולראות את איך נקרא לזה, את הפתטיות של הפרופגנדה, לאחר שאנחנו מגלים את האמת. כמו שאמרתי, אנחנו עוברים לשלב הלעג הלב, זה פשוט בושה וחרפה. איך אומרים? למה שלא יהיה לנו תמונות אמת כל הזמן? חביבי, יש פה צוותים וזה, הצוות הזה לא יוצא משום מקום, איך אומרים, הוא לא יכול לצאת, אם הוא יוצא אז אסור להם לטייל. לא הבנתי, מה קרה עם המשלחת כיבוש ומעבר אנטארקטיקה מהדרום? אתם כבר נוסעים למאדים ועוד לא עברתם את היבשת האנטארקטית, כן? מצד לצד, למטה בכדור? איך זה? למה אתם לא מתעסקים בזה? מה, אין מרחבים לחקור שם? זה רק קרח של... אין ערך מדעי לגבי התחממות כדור הארץ שלכם, אין ערך מדעי לחקור את אנטארקטיקה הלוך חזור, ובאנטארקטיקה יותר קשה להגיע למאדים שתכף אילון מאסק ייקח אותנו, או לירח והטיסות המפוברקות שלה. איי. איך אומרים, העולם שטוח ולא בתנועה, כדאי להקל בעניין הזה. את העניינים, איך אומרים, הפיזיקה והמדע עומד בכלל לצד אנשי עולם השטוח, כי פשוט מאוד זה יותר מסתדר עם הכדורים המעופפים ב-2.2 מיליון קמ"ש בארבעה כיוונים שונים, בוואקום אינסופי של 14.5 מיליארד שנות אור, שזה בכלל זמן מאז המפץ הגדול. ואנחנו נשמעים הזויים. וואלה. לבריאות חבר'ה.